It is my pleasure to introduce today's commencement speaker, Mr. Joe Beckman. Joe is a 1997 graduate of St. Thomas Academy and attended St. John's University in Collegeville. Joe was an all-conference baseball player at the Academy and became active in Vista Theater at St. Thomas. Joe parlayed that theater experience into some acting gigs. You might have even seen him in a Best Buy commercial, or perhaps as playing Mama Bear at Valley Fair Amusement Park. Joe is married and the father of 3 lovely children. Besides his family, Joe's main calling is youth ministry. Joe has worked for 14 years as a youth worker and youth motivator. Part of that time with an organization called Youth Frontiers, before now striking out on his own. Joe has presented in 1,000 schools to nearly 500,000 students and educators both in the U.S. and abroad. This past year, Joe engaged our middle school houses via video messages and character development exercises, such as leadership is in the little, lead with love, and attitude of gratitude. And he led an all-middle school retreat earlier in the year as well. Joe is ideally suited to speak to us today as he has dedicated his life to helping young people discover their purpose in order to live their lives centered on self-confidence, purpose, leadership, and service to others. Known to the boys as the Motivational Ninja, please welcome Mr. Joe Beckman.
You guys are so beautiful. Turn to your neighbors right now, both parents and students. Give somebody a high five and say, I love your face. Do it. Breaks the ice a little bit. Oh, yeah. Repeat after me, please. Everyone say just. Look up. There I stood in an empty auditorium, staring at the second hand on the clock slowly make its way around, tick, tick, tick. The year was 2002, my very first speaking opportunity at an elementary school in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And as the 150 Red Bull-induced fourth graders violently charged their way into the auditorium, I instantly knew that I was in way over my head. I started talking, but they could tell that I was struggling. They started wiggling. The teachers were no doubt judging. My face is intensely sweating when then I looked up. And when I did, I made eye contact with a young student whose name tag I could see read Abdul. And before I could even finish my blink, there was a voice in my soul that screamed, Joe, connect. And so I just held his eyes a little bit longer than normal. I gave him a small little smile, one that said, I see you, brother. Abdul, I learned, was new to the school. In fact, it was only a few short months ago where he and his family were living in a small village in the war-torn country of Sierra Leone in Africa. On a random day, not much different than this young fourth grade boy witnessed a rebel army drive into his village in their jeeps with their guns, machetes, and clubs, and he watched as they brutally raped and tortured and murdered nearly every single person in that village, including key members of his family. His teachers told me that they hadn't seen him smile once. And yet, as we were walking out of the auditorium, young Abdul pulled me aside, and I got down on my knee, and he looked me right in the eyes, and he said through this tiny little smile, he said, Mr. Joe, you make my heart so happy. I know. I wanted to take him home with me, but technically that's kidnapping, so I didn't attempt that. Abdul taught me a universal truth that has shaped my entire life's mission. Human connection matters. This matters more than this. And this is winning right now. And slowly but surely, we're seeing a descent in human connection, and unfortunately, it's killing our kids. We are struggling through a massive shift worldwide of student loneliness, belonging, and self-worth. And although we'll hear about and read about the major headlines in the paper of bullying and suicide and depression, all of those are problems, but the real problem, the problem that lives underneath the surface of all of these other problems, is lack of human connection. If we could just get the connection thing right. Now, why does this matter? 8th graders, you're going off to a next step in your adventure of life. Why does this human connection thing matter? 2 reasons. Number 1, it matters to you. The next 4 years, you are going to be a cadet, or maybe you will go somewhere else, but wherever you go, you will be part of something bigger than just you. You will be part of a class, the class of 2021. There will never be another class of 2021. You are it. And I ask you now, how do you want to be remembered? What will the legacy of 2021 be? And if I could give you just a piece of advice, as someone who has literally been in the same space as you were, as a cadet myself, please let me tell you something that I'm asking you not to forget. If there was anything you paid attention to that I'm going to say over the next couple minutes, please hear this. Connection equals legacy. The more you get to know each other, the better you are going to be toward each other. And the better you're toward each other, the more you can create with each other. If you want the class of 2021 to be remembered for decades to come, one word: connect. It's not about being everybody's best friend. It's about simply being cool with people, seeing their strengths. No, you might not get along with everybody, but everybody brings something to the table. Everybody brings something to the class, and it's because of that that the class of 2021 can not just survive, but thrive. The second reason human connection matters: parents, teachers, adults. You see, whether we're in an office tower, a home office, or a teacher lounge, we need connection too. I always say that what water is to the body, connection is to the soul. And just like youth, in order for us to be the best parents, in order for us to be the best leaders, in order for us to be the best educators, we need to see each other. And we need to be seen. We need to be heard. Our story needs to be heard and listened to. So here's my advice for all of us in the room. It doesn't have to be complicated. 3 words: just look up. That's how it starts. That's how we start to begin to reclaim human connection. That's how we can begin to significantly reduce bullying and depression and self-harm, and yes, even suicide. And at the end of the day, we get one shot, guys. You get one shot to be in high school. We get one shot at this thing called parenting, one shot at this thing called life. All of us will leave a legacy behind. Connection equals legacy. Every day we have thousands of opportunities, literally, to influence others, to see them, to notice them, to make eye contact with them, to say hi, to, in our own way, take a small amount of time, look somebody in the eyes and say, "I see you, brother." When I'm speaking in schools, I always leave the students with this quote: "It's not about changing the world, it's about changing one person's day." And that's my challenge for all of us in this room. To change one person's day every day, to look up, to reclaim human connection with them, and it doesn't take much. 2 seconds to look up. But that tiny little action, that small little step could live in somebody's heart for the rest of their lives. I haven't seen Abdul since 2002. Until last year. We sat down for coffee, and I learned that Abdul is now 24 years old. He's a professional musician. He's using his gift of music to inspire youth to overcome some of their life's challenges. And I asked him, I said, dude, you remember anything from what we talked about 15 years ago? And he said 2 words. And it wasn't your stories, and it wasn't your message. Your smile. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it.